delivered in 1965, vaetchnan. And let's go right to it. Beginning this week's Torah portion, Moshe Rabbeinu tells the Jewish people, "Vaetchnן alavai v'gemer, and I beseeched Hashem to enter Israel." It says in the Sifri, the Medrash, Shnei Parnasim Tevim Amdalam Yisrael. There are two good shepherds that stood to take care of the Jewish people. Moshe Rabbeinu and David HaMelech. And when they asked Hashem for their requests, respectively, they could have asked Hashem, they could have said, because of all the wonderful things we've done, that's why we deserve our request to be granted. However, when they asked Hashem for a present, not because of their merits. And the Gemara says we should learn from them. If Moshe and David, who had these unique merits, an incredible amount of merits, yet they asked Hashem for a gift. Someone does not have all the virtues of Moshe Rabbeinu, David HaMelech, in other words, everybody else. So too, when we ask Hashem, we should ask Hashem not because of our merit. We should ask Hashem to give us for free. We ask Hashem just for mercy, just for our honest, just that give us that. Our requests are, Hashem, answer me not because of what I've done, as we say every morning, not because of our merits do we come before you. Rather, we come before you because of Rachmech, because of your great mercy. Another interpretation, another drasha from the Sifri. Sifri is a medrash which is specifically on the books of Midbar and Dvar. It says another interpretation on the same words. I beseeched Hashem on the first words of the sixth Torah portion. There are 10 different words that are used for davening. 10 different expressions used for davening. Thank you very much. So too, thank you. It says in the Shabbat that there are 10 different expressions for davening. And that goes on to list the 10 different ways that you could describe the same word, tefillah. And from all the different ways, Moshe Rabbeinu could have approached Hashem using different words that mean the same thing. They mean to pray. Moshe Rabbeinu said, I beseech Hashem. I am offering supplications to Hashem. I am begging Hashem. From here we learn that no creature in the world has any importance, has any importance vis-a-vis their creator. If Moshe Rabbeinu came to Hashem, despite all of his great merits, he came to Hashem asking and begging Hashem, how much more so does no creature have any protectia, if you will, with their creator. Medrash continues, thank you. How come Moshe Rabbeinu, says the Medrash, came to Hashem with the language of supplication? How come he didn't come to Hashem to grant his request because of some unique virtue, some reason that he had? Why did he come to Hashem with just begging, asking, pleading? Moshe Rabbeinu heard from Hashem. Hashem told Moshe, Hashem said, I will give favor to those who I will give favor to. Someone does not have merits, Hashem says, I will give them with just favor. Someone does not have merits, Hashem says, I will give them favor. Therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't ask for a specific reason, rather he asks for a gift, because Hashem says that if someone does not have virtues, Hashem says, I will give them freely. What does this mean? So Moshe Rabbeinu and David HaMelech, they have all these merits, and they come to Hashem not with their merits, they ask Hashem to give them for free. Further, Moshe Rabbeinu asks Hashem in a language of supplication and begging, and the Medrash is saying two very similar statements about Moshe Rabbeinu and David HaMelech, that they don't ask because of their merits, they don't ask as if they're entitled to receive, How much more so should we, when we turn to Hashem, we should do the same. What this means is, according to the Medrash Rabbah, Ve'atchnan is one of the 10 languages used for davening. The general meaning of davening, the way it's meant to be, according to the Torah of truth, it is connected with the person's service of Hashem, and it is connected with his merits. While you're davening, the level you're at and the kind of virtues you have, they do have impact vis-a-vis your prayers being answered. The word tefillah means to connect. Like the Mishnah uses the word toifel when talking about a clay, a potter, that he makes these pots by sticking together the earth and the water and the fire. So he sticks the water and the water and the earth together. So too, when you daven, you're sticking yourself. You're connecting yourself. You're gluing yourself with the Eibishter. There has to be a connection. There has to be a bond between the one who is davening and the one who he is davening to, meaning to Hashem. There has to be a connection. And Hashem is the one who created the person praying. And the person praying has merits. And the more merits you have, the more connection you have, the impact is greater and the response is greater. Therefore, and that's why you deserve your request to be answered. Next page, as a despite the fact that you have merits, and despite the fact that merits do make a difference, yet you're not supposed to discuss those merits when you're davening, although they are impactful, they are relevant, but you're not supposed to talk about it. Why? Because it's known, even when God gives a person a reward, that means he deserves it. He does something good, and Hashem gives him a reward. It's not that God is obligated to give us. Even when God does give us something because of what we deserve, it's not like he's obligated. How do we know that when God gives us a reward, it's not something he's obligated to do? Because it says in the Torah, you, God, have kindness because you repay each person according to their deeds. That even when you're paying us back according to our deeds, what does the verse say? You have kindness because you do this. It's considered a kindness of Hashem. It's not considered an obligation of Hashem. Why is that?
Would that be like a father?
He first explains. The reason why it's considered a kindness is because the whole concept of us making an arousal from below and the Eibush responding, it's not that Hashem needs our work and he responds because he asks us to do something and he's depending on us to do it, and therefore he responds to what we do. Rather, this whole thing, this whole mechanism, the Zohar says that when we make an effort, Hashem responds, is because God decided it should be that way. It's not because it's naturally that there's a value in what we're doing. So the Eibush decided he wants to need it, but not that we naturally need it.
It's like a kid. A kid does something good, doesn't obligate necessarily the father.
Okay.
It's the kindness, still the kindness of the father. The kid does something good, and the father decides, oh, you did something good, I'm going to give you ice cream. It's not an obligation.
What if the father hired the child to work in a store?
Then it's an obligation.
Then the father needs it.
That's an obligation. That's different.
So
I guess that would be the difference. But if you're going in that way, then no example that we bring physically can work between Hashem and us.
That's what I was saying.
What?
He's saying that there is that's exactly what he's saying. He's saying there's nothing that we could possibly do that would naturally cause Hashem to it's only because Hashem decided this is valuable to me. I care about this. I'm going to respond when you do this. Hashem decided that he's going to be affected by your actions. However, one second. Listen a second. Hold on. The Eibush did decide this, and therefore this is the emes. This is the emes. Now this is the emes is that Taked does have an effect. Now our avodah is valuable. It's like the store now. The Eibishter asks us to run the store, and he hires us. And this is the agreement. This is our contract. And now this is what he wanted. He didn't have to, but he did. However, that itself is only because of his chesed. It's true that this is the way it really is, that now Hashem decided it should be this way, that it stays this way. It's now a so to speak, it's a binding agreement. However, it's only because of the chesed of Hashem. There's a similar idea that Rosh Hashanah brings many halachic things that once there's a cause for something, so even though this cause causes something else, but the original cause, I'm going to give example, it's going to be confusing. Whatever. And therefore it is relevant, and we need, even if you have many merits, like Moshe Rabbeinu, you need to daven to Hashem and don't ask for your merits. Don't say, "Oh Hashem, now you owe me." And further, not only should you daven, but you should daven in a language of supplication, asking for a gift. You're saying, "Hashem, you are kind to everyone. I'm asking you to give me not because of anything I've done. I'm asking you to give me a gift of kindness." Even though you deserve it, you have your merits. Nevertheless, your request has to be for free. So that's how the Medrash Rabbah presents that. The Medrash Rabbah, we brought two things. What the Medrash Rabbah brought the Sifri. So the Medrash Rabbah, he presents davening. They present davening in the Medrash. That davening is a request of Hashem's kindness. It's a requesting in this week's Torah portion in the language of vaetchanun, language of begging, not because of your merits, but because of the Eibishter's kindness, and therefore the way you're approaching the Eibishter is asking for a gift. However, according to Sifri, vaetchanun she'bakasha b'chit chinam ein machal sarat l'shen shel k'stila v'kshur m'veides chus Elias b'daga kazu she'neged shatzlei she'en l'schus chus b'cholam yirei kosh baruch li'mal kashasei lachinei v'akshenei makom shitin li'alachinam atzing mamash. The Medrash says that vaetchanun is one of the 10 languages of davening. So what is davening? We said before, davening is about our connection to Hashem. Davening means toifel, means attachment. There has to be a relationship between the one who is davening, the one who you're davening to, right? So there's a connection there, and your merits have value. But the Sifri doesn't say that vaetchanun is the language of davening. That means we're not talking at all about something where your merits have relevance. We're not talking about a level that we're talking about a level where you feel that you have no merit to deserve that God should answer your requests, and therefore you're not asking from Hashem for anything else, just for a present.
It's not based on your merits.
It's not based on your merits. The Medrash also says that you're
so what does it mean, for example, when you give $1 and you say, "It's chus of this dollar, I just gave to tzedakah," or whatever the case may be? Well, I'm taking on myself to place was to light Shabbos candles. That's a famous one. Earlier, in honor of that, I'm asking the Rabbi Moshe Levin to give a full shleimah to a certain person.
You're asking that this chus, the merit of this mitzvah, should be attributed to someone.
Right.
So
rather than yourself.
Saying, I don't want to have this merit for myself.
Somebody else, it's okay, but for yourself, don't say in the merit that I did. Is that?
I think there's a lot of davening in that statement as well. The person who's saying that is talking to Eibishter. He's begging the Eibishter, please, I'm doing something. Please look at this. But
it's not a demand. It's not.
It's not a demand.
It's not a demand of an exchange. I worked, and therefore you need to pay me now.
Right. It's a request. Please have this merit should do something. Yeah. It's not like I'm making a neder, and therefore you owe me. Because like you're
making a neder for the Bais.
That's
yeah, right. Because that would mean you're making God make a neder. How can you make Hashem make a neder? You don't have power to do that. So the only thing you could do is you could say is that I'm making a neder, You shouldn't make a neder, but you could say that I'm doing this thing, and I'm asking Hashem, and it's a request. I mean, even Yaakov Avinu in Parshat Vayetzi, there's a discussion which was part of Yaakov's neder and which was part of his prayer. Yaakov made a neder, and there's a discussion in the commentaries. In the neder, he mentions, and Hashem will give me bread to eat and clothing to wear. Right. So the question is that part of his vow? Is he vowing Hashem to give him bread to eat? Yes. If you give this to me, then I'll do this. Or is that part of his prayer? I think, but I think that a Yid's Chacham son is in trouble like that and needs the Eibishter and he feels the Eibishter. There's a lot of davening there. I noticed an interesting thing in the Rebbe's letters that in the Chassidic lexicon, a letter that's given with a soul request with a specific thing, pidyon nefesh, my soul should be saved. That's a specific kind of letter. Rabbi Shabbat talks about the preparations needed to make such a letter, and the additional things people do before they write such a letter. To the extent that the previous Rebbe writes that if someone writes a pan without a thoughts of tshuva, it doesn't help, and it's the opposite. So, on the other hand, if you look at the Rebbe's letters, very often people write the Rebbe a regular letter, a letter that's not considered official pan. They're writing a report, writing this. It's I received your pidyon nefesh. I received a request for a blessing. Your pidyon nefesh. So they say about the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov is seen as the movement of every Jew, a prayer. So in a yid turning to Eibishter and saying this merit, there's a lot of davening there. May this work. May you help me. But also there's a difference between the future and the past. For our purposes right now, the difference in the Sifri and the Medrash is that the Sifri, by the Medrash saying that there's 10 different languages of davening in general indicates connection and relationship, and therefore there is a value. It's one of the 10 kinds of davening. That's what the Medrash is saying. It's included in one of those 10. I mean, it is in a realm where merit has merit, if you will, where having merit is meaningful. However, the Sifri says Ve'etzchanan is not one of the 10 languages of davening. I mean, it's not about davening. It's not about the relationship of davening. Rather, it's an approach to the Eibishter, the way you see yourself having zero merits, and you're asking just for a complete gift at all. In other words, not like there are different kinds of merit, like the Medrash is presenting the different kinds of davening. This is this kind of davening. Rather, the Sifri is saying it's totally as a matnas chinam mamish, a totally free gift. It's not like I'm not asking because of my merits. Hashem, I have merits, but I don't want to mention that right now. That's how the Medrash is presenting it. There's 10 different ways of language. I'm not using that language. I'm using the language of a gift. But the way because although what's the Medrash saying? The Medrash is saying, we said before, even when a person deserves a response from Hashem, he doesn't really deserve it fully because it's only because of Hashem's chesed, right? Even if you deserve it, the reason why you could possibly deserve anything is only because Hashem's kindness gives weight to your deeds.
So what if you said?
Hold on a second. So therefore, in the Medrash, the Medrash is saying that a guy is saying to the Eibishter, I know I've done all these things, but I'm asking you. I know this is all because of your chesed, but there's still there's still something on the table he's putting on the table. It's not totally free. It's not totally for that. He's not totally ignoring his own space there. But the Sifri is saying it's not one of the 10 languages of davening. It's just I'm asking for a total gift. Okay, go ahead.
No, I think you may have answered the question. Okay. Well, I guess the question was basically this: everybody would like to know the words that would make Hashem accede to our prayers. Okay, I know I'm not going to get an answer to that. But is there a difference if you're saying, please give me money so that I can increase my charity or the effect of my charity, versus please give me money so my kids will be happy and I can buy them a Mercedes or whatever? Or is that just completely silly?
So first of all, the language of the Siddur is a language we use to approach the Eibishter.
Right.
The first thing, we could say use your own words too.
Right.
It's number one. So our the language used is important. Number two, there is a concept of writing to the Rebbe because of this specific thing that the Rebbe, the tzaddik, has a unique way of bringing your prayer, bringing our requests before Hashem, the ways that we can't.
Right.
But number three, more importantly to your question, there's something called Geshem Nadavis. Geshem Nadavis means a magnanimous rain, and that's an expression Chassidus uses.
A magnanimous what?
Rain.
Rain.
It's a verse in Tehillim in chapter 68, 69 in Tehillim. This magnanimous rain is about a huge response from Hashem. It says in the pasuk that we say every day in davening, "Hashaleach marasa yaretz." God sends His words to the earth. Ad meher yaretz dvarei. His word runs swiftly. So Chassidus explains that the two halves of that verse correspond. The two halves of that verse correspond to two different kinds of divine flow. There is when Hashem sends His words to the earth through the spiritual cosmos. It comes from Rosh Hashanah, and it sends from one world to the next, and there's a judgment at each level, and it's slow. It's slow. It goes from level to level. God sends His word to the earth, and Hashem decides Rosh Hashanah, but then there's a judgment every day, and it has to go from one world to the next, and there's customs, and there's, I don't know what kind of arrangements there are in each world, but then there is a prayer of Eliezer, the servant of Avraham. Oh, he had an immediate response for his request. The Eibush responded immediately to him. And there are other people like that. The Eibush responded immediately to them. And the reason why what was in their davening, that was so impactful, which is what we're supposed to learn from, is their davening was a selfless davening. It was a selfless thing. It wasn't about that they wanted because of themselves. It wasn't because they were asking for the Eibush's ways, for the Eibush's way. Like Eliezer, he was asking that Abraham, son Yitzchak, should have a wife, and it was a selfless thing. In a similar way, to have the magnanimous rain from the Eibusher, it comes from magnanimous rain from ourselves. That there's a real generous ingredient in our prayers that we're asking for the Eibusher. I think that makes it.
Yeah.
That's a big thing in davening. Further on, next paragraph. It says in adding on to this distinction that we've established between Medish and Sifri, one being giving more leverage to our deeds, one giving zero leverage to our deeds. The Chassidus, it says in Chassidus that 10 expressions used for davening correspond to the 10 spheres of Atzilus. So, and each of the spheres, the 10 spheres, all are connected to all other spheres. In Chachma there's Bina, in Chachma there's Das. So the 10 spheres correspond to the 10 languages used for prayer, and in Atzilus itself, Malchus is associated with davening. So the perhaps because Malchus is a source of creation, but either way, the 10 languages of davening correspond to the 10 spheres as they are in Malchus. Malchus has in Chachma, Bina, Das, etc. So the 10 languages of davening correspond to the 10 spheres as they are in Malchus. Chachma shel Malchus, Bina shel Malchus. Asking for a free gift corresponds to the Keser in Malchus. Keser, the crown, is above all the spheres. The spheres begin with the level of wisdom, level of Chachma. Just like in ourselves, brain houses our mind, our Chachma. Then there is the crown, which you put above your head. So too, spiritually, the spiritual counterpart of that is that there is a crown above the head. There is something which is above the 10 spheres. So asking for a gift is above the 10 different ways of davening, all other 10 components of davening, which are alluded to in the 10 languages of davening, in the 10 different spheres. So from the perspective of the Keser of Malchus, from the perspective of that level which is beyond the spheres, the way that level which is beyond the spheres shines in the spheres, the way it shines in Malchus, the way the crown of Hashem, the way the infinite light of Hashem shines into the lowest sphere in Malchus, kula k'mek l'achshiv. So everything before him is like naught. There's no importance. There's no. You can't say this is more important. This is less important from the perspective of keser. So there is no. Everything's like nothing. So the two ways that we've described matnas chinam, a gift from Hashem, the way that the Medrash describes it, that a person has merits and yet he's asking for free anyways, and the way the Sifri is presenting it, that even in your own eyes you have no merits. These two approaches correspond to two levels in Keser. From the perspective of the external lower level of Keser, which is called Arich, there is importance to our deeds, and therefore our request for free is only in the language of that we're using. But looking at it from the perspective of the value of what we're giving, what we're asking, the value of our prayers themselves, yeah, there's merit in what we're doing. But from the perspective of the inner dimension of Keser, the level of Atik, where that level is revealed, how everything before Hashem is like nothing, there you could say that it's a truly a free gift, Bamas. From the perspective of Arich, since Arich is a source for creation, somewhat it's beyond creation, but still has some connection to creation, so therefore you can't say it's a totally free gift. However, from the perspective of Atik, which Atik is literally from the perspective of Atik, everything compared to that level is completely insignificant. It's so infinite, so beyond creation that compared to that level, everything is like nothing. So there, it's we could that is in sync with the explanation of the Sifri, that it's a mamish, a free gift, and the deeds of a human being have no relevance whatsoever. So stop here. Zaka Baruch.
It's not conditional on us. We're eliciting an attribute of Hashem. And yeah, okay.
We're asking the Abish to give us a free gift, not because of us, nothing to do with us.
Whereas Arich has